Hey, it's been a while. Thank you so much for 1,000 subs. To celebrate this fantastic milestone, let's talk about everything in this update as well as what my future plans are. For this special 1-year anniversary update, I've taken a look back at all of the previous features and tried to give them a level of polish to meet my higher standards. Let's take a look at the feature that desperately needed the most attention. Introducing the dungeon. Originally, I wanted to keep dungeons in the same style as Minecraft. However, I figured let's break that mold with this, as those dungeons were incredibly lame. Starting out with my favorite Revamp dungeon, the Courage Temple. Originally, it was inspired off of the ruins in Breath of the Wild and the jungle temples in the base game. However, being that it was the 1-year anniversary update, I needed this to be bigger and better than before. So, I did some research. I played through Ocarina of Time, then I played through Skyward Sword because I love Skyward Sword. After figuring out the feel of these dungeons and comparing them to Minecraft, I think I came up with a solution that worked for both. Each dungeon now has a central path that leads to the flame, while the side paths lead you to actual adventure. Each dungeon also gives you a guaranteed pearl matching the respective flame. If you want to adventure, you can go off to the side, but if you're only there for the flame, it's usually right there in front of you. The Wisdom Temple is the second updated temple. You remember how I said I played through Ocarina of Time? Well, don't worry, I knew what not to do with the Water Temple. So this definitely isn't an underwater confusing labyrinth that's entirely underwater. Oh wait, it is. Which, fun fact, the Water Temple in Ocarina really doesn't have a lot of interesting underwater rooms. Like, what is this? The Clam Room? So, this dungeon is mostly from my own imagination. You'll notice half of the rooms are very small and condensed, while the other half are fairly wide open. Originally, this temple was a very small vertical dungeon, but now it's been massively expanded to include underwater mazes, tunnels, combat rooms, and secrets, to not only make the water-based items more important, but to offer a slightly higher difficulty compared to the Courage Temple. Finally, the Power Temple was originally the better of the 3 temples, so it receives slightly less changes. There are plenty of combat rooms, platforming, and tons and tons and tons of hot stuff. But by this point, I was pretty burnt out on remaking dungeons, so I switched up to something a little simpler. Originally, the Master Sword was just a pedestal that would spawn in the jungle. Pretty basic, right? So, to better fit the legendary sword, I zhuzhed it up a little. It now spawns on a little mound complete with flowers. There's a couple of variations as well, such as a log, flower bed, and just the Temple of Time. Well, I did say I played Ocarina of Time. This temple is specifically inspired by the Breath of the Wild version. The entire structure has seen better days as time has worn it away, so it's intended as a starter structure that has basic gear. It can also rarely house the legendary blade, a much more fitting house for the Master Sword, wouldn't you say? Okay, moving on, most items have had a significant touch-up. Starting out with the spin attack, hold right-click to charge up your sword, and once fully charged, unleash a whirlwind of pain around you. Some swords, like the Master Sword, are able to do this innately, but any sword can do it as long as you have the new enchantment, Sword Spinner. This is a treasure-only enchantment that can be found in the newly updated dungeons. Spin attacks were a highly requested feature, so I hope you enjoy them. The Master Sword, its variants, Fierce Deity Sword, and the Hero Swords are now able to shoot beams by left-clicking rather than right-clicking. Next up, we have bomb chews, mobile bombs that are able to climb up surfaces and detonate. These bombs explode on contact with any entity that isn't the player that used it. They can be crafted and found rarely in desert pyramids and power temples. Bombs in general have also been completely redone. You'll notice they now flash before detonating. All bomb types also have a new sprite to help them stand out a bit more. The paraglider has been totally revamped. You are now able to actually control it, and it's no longer a work in progress. The holding animation also properly plays while gliding down, so you can enjoy it in first person and third. Boomerangs have also been completely redone. They now perform much better, look less janky, along with all having new sprites. Both the Magic Hammer and Mechaton Hammer have a completely new model along with a new sprite, and they're able to perform an AoE attack that can be done by right-clicking on a block. It no longer breaks weak blocks, but I felt this was a fair trade-off. Rock's Feather now allows you to properly double jump by just using the spacebar or jump key, instead of needing to right-click. The Rock's Cape now functions mostly as an elytra, rather than only allowing you to fly for a short period of time. Deku Nuts, Ancient Arrows, Shock Arrows, and other projectiles now produce particles upon disappearing. The Blast Mask can now be used to bomb jump if done in the air while blocking. This is super fun to do. In general, most items have had some sort of texture revamp in order to match the quality of other items, most notably in things like the Claw Shot and Master Orb. Here's a side-by-side on some of the more noticeable ones. Keys have been updated to match the chews and having elemental variants. They also spawn in the same biomes as their elemental chew counterparts, as well as having their code massively cleaned up. These guys were mostly held together by duct tape and paper clips, along with prayers to Miyamoto for Twilight Princess on the Switch 2. Chews have had their model completely revamped to look a bit more accurate to Breath of the Wild. Dark Nuts haven't been updated too much, but they have a normalized walk animation along with their helmets being an item. They're quite protective pieces of armor, so in order to get them, they're obtained the same way as a mob head. And since this update has taken a while, here's a sneak peek at some new stuff I'm working on. Bokoblins and Moblins. This includes all of their variants with their Breath of the Wild appearances. Now, these guys have pretty complicated AI, so they're not quite done yet, but as soon as they are, you'll be the first to know. Moving on to blocks, there are quite a few that have received quality of life improvements. Starting off with the Heart Flower, Primo Flower, and Stamina Fruit, they no longer disintegrate upon being absorbed, and instead regenerate over time. They also require shears to pick up now. Wild Bomb Flowers have received tweaks to allow them to be placed on any surface, and they now trigger each other when exploding in a certain radius, just like you'd expect. Ice switches also share this feature and are able to be placed on any surface. Pressure switches in all varieties are able to be oriented in multiple directions. I actually hadn't realized this wasn't a feature until my friend pointed it out. All Deku Flowers negate fall damage now and are a little bit bouncy, inspired by the opening cutscene of Majora's Mask. Spike blocks are a new block that are currently exclusive to dungeons. They deal damage to you when touched, and much like Dripstone, deal massive damage if you fall on them. They can be toggled on and off with a redstone signal. These blocks are a major pain to mine, and if you mine them without Silk Touch, they'll just drop a singular iron nugget instead. Speaking of redstone, Sheikah blocks are the final new block. These blocks are exclusive to dungeons and function as compact vertical redstone. You'll notice that any inclusion of redstone type puzzles in the dungeons use these blocks instead of traditional redstone. And that's pretty much it. If you're wondering where I've been working 72-hour work weeks, so I have been very busy. However, in my stead, Deadly Diamond was kind enough to work on most of this update for me, including refactoring the code and fixing up a lot of bugs. So if you're wondering why updates have been slow, that's why. Moving forward, I'm planning to update this mod to NeoForge and to the latest versions of Minecraft. I still plan to release a few updates for 1.20.1, but I'm working to move it to newer versions. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and be sure to let me know if you have any ideas for future content. Alright, see you next time.